Hey guys, it's Carol and thank you for stopping by. This might actually qualify as a weekly update because this is the third Tuesday in a row that I have sat in front of a camera and have stitching projects to share with you. I am really impressed because for the entire time I've had this channel, I've had this intention of like trying to be, I think once I thought, monthly. Monthly doesn't work, it's not a routine. Every other week, not a routine. Every week, and that's a routine. I can stick with that. The problem? When I don't cross stitch, then I feel like I have nothing to show, I have nothing to say, and then I don't do, and then I fall out of the routine. So I am actually kind of excited that this is the third week in a row. I don't want to say it's like a New Year's resolution. It really isn't. It's that I have been sitting down and stitching. And so with that, I'm just going to hop right into the whips. First up is my daily 30 piece, which I am using Modern Folk Embroidery's 2024 Stitch Along. This is No Time Like the Present. Here's where it was last time. This is my progress. So we are halfway through January already, and I am not quite at the halfway point. I did figure out is, it's right here. This little circle motif is the halfway point. So what I've been doing is kind of going along the top here. So you can see like this is, I don't have a count on this. So I actually have to like catch it up down here to make sure that I don't go too far. That's the one downside. So it's counted cross stitch. I hate counting. Like once I get over about 12, I lose track. I can go up to 20 with a lot of like double counting. Like I will, when I say double counting, I mean literally go back and double check 2 to 3 times to make sure I have the right number. But this is way too long. This is I'm pretty sure that the margin over here is bigger than the margin over there, so I haven't got all the way to the edge. But I like to use, so I've been using all the circles up here to make sure I'm on track here, and then as I come across, I'm gonna use this down here to make sure that I'm on track up here. I hope that makes sense. I guess that's just a good way of saying how we approach our stitching is going to be unique for every person because you're going to pick the thing that works best for you. Maybe you are the person who really needs to like count out this row is 18 and you're counting to 18. Or you could be the person who is like what I do. Once I have a marker, oh, the previous row, I'm only going one beyond it. And I'm doing a lot of counting off the differentials, if you will. I don't know how other people stitch, to be honest. I've never really given it much thought. I just know what works for me and how I like it. So, and I will tell you that because of how I do it, long rows I don't like. Columns are easier, except for when you start getting to the dropping down enough columns, so you have to start counting to make sure you're at the correct row. That becomes its own piece. But you'll note though that this is why you will never see me do any sort of cross-country stitching where I'm like way off in the weeds over here. I like to have all my stuff connected because that way I am constantly double checking, is this correct? I don't like to make mistakes. I like my pattern. Like if I make a mistake, I'll sometimes fudge it if it's fudgeable. This project wouldn't be fudgeable. Everything is one giant rectangle everything's going to be connected. So I want to make sure that really up here is going to be the foundation for how everything goes as I go down. So I want to get it right. Anyway, all of that to say, I am definitely about a third over. So given that I already told you I'm not stitching on this one on weekends, it's my daily 30, but it's really only during the week. Like I am really happy that I am on track, and it is 21 columns across. I am on track still, as of today, to get the January section done completely in January. And from poking around, I think it's about 3,600 stitches in order to make that happen. I think I'd have to double check. I saw it written down. I was poking around on Modern Folk Embroidery's website, and he had the math for how many X's you were doing each month. I forgot it, didn't write it down. That's fine. But anyway, point not being for all of this, I'm at 3%. I'm really happy because normally for something like a stitch along, I have already fallen apart by week number 2. Here I am starting week number 3, and I'm feeling good about it. This is stitched. It is 1 thread over 2 on a 36 count. I don't love the coverage. It's good, but not great. I go back and forth. So obviously over 2 threads on a 36 is the same as doing on an 18 count. A lot of my projects when I do 36 or 18, I like to do 2 threads. But from one of my other projects, it looks full and it's great and not always what I'm looking for. So This is one of those, now I do like the coverage. I like a coverage on a 40 count a little better, but for the size of the finished piece, the dimensions were just a little bit better on the 36 count, so I'm happy that I'm doing this on a 36 count, and the color was absolutely what I wanted. This is a creme brulee, and I'm using just 2 DMC colors, and it's coming along exactly as I was envisioning this project, so in that case, it is totally a win. Now, I'm hoping, given that this is my daily 30, that I will still be considering this a win 3 months from now when I am hopefully still caught up and not doing, I'm not gonna get this finished this year. I don't want to be that person. It's my goal, not be that person this year. So I am leading off with my relatively new starts. That brings us to Betsy Ross Flag by the Primitive Hare. Here's where it was last time. And this is my small bit of progress. You'll note I have started putting this vase thing in. There's 5 colors in this chart. I'm using 4 of them so far. There's another that I believe is supposed to be like a skin tone on our Betsy Ross character. But in the meantime, it is 3 Gentle Arts colors, Onyx for the black, Scarlet Buckeye for the red, and Freedom for this blue tone, and then B5200. I'm really happy how this is going. This motif is not done, but most of the plant part is. So it's coming along, it's fitting horizontally, exactly where I was expecting. I don't know how to, so the flag starts right here. I don't know how far up this flag is gonna go based on the printing. This is the 30 count printed linen Constitution from the Primitive Hare. I think there should be enough room that I'm still within the printing part of it. I just know that this is going to be framed in really tightly when I get it done. That's fine. I like it. This is a small project for me. Hopefully this doesn't take me too long, but I am really enjoying working on it. But the only thing I don't love, for some reason, I'm doing this 2/2. 2/2, my stitching looks great on 32 count. It's definitely kind of on the sloppy side on 28 count. And 30 count just seems to be like this, like it's the worst of all worlds for me. I don't love that fabric count. I really like 32. If I'm going to be using 2 strands, 32 is my sweet spot. But I will say I feel like the coverage is great on here, so it's going well. Speaking of 28 count, I only have I think 1 project on 28 count in all of my whips, and that is Mirabilia Designs, the Stargazer. Here's where she was last time. So here she is today. I hope you can see, and this is the problem with, I don't know how well the camera picks up all of the beads up here. Like, the camera does a really good job with things like the DMC floss. The beads, which look amazing in person, very sparkly. So they're not even the most sparkly. I mean, there's some sparkle to them, but just how they reflect looks great. I don't know if you get the benefit of that. And I can't tell because honestly the little screen that I have to look at is like this big. So I'm kind of guessing. But regardless, a lot of beading up here because before I had only gotten to about the beading that was the middle part of her head. So there's this whole chunk right here. I did some more stitching on the skirt because why not? Completely filled out this ribbon. But key thing, I was feeling in the mood for beading, so I went with it. The only thing is there is a star over here that is in DMC. I do need to get to that because the beading thread that I use, and I am really lazy, so this is just a Coats Transparent polyester 400 yards on a spool, bought at Joann's. This is actually meant for like doing invisible hems on clothing. It really is the same stuff. Like this is not the finest I've seen. If you look at like ready to wear, you'll see sometimes some really fine of this. I mean, it's very, very thin. So I use that, but the problem is in order to anchor it, I anchor it under the back of my DMC. And I mean, multiple times to make sure it doesn't pull through. Generally, if I have it wrapped around a section about 3 times minimum, it does not move. 2, it'll move. 3, it won't. I'll sometimes do 4, just, okay. Problem is over here, I am now so far from this DMC, there's actually basically this thread running along the back. Now, I had this done while I was working in hoops, so everything was under tension. I mean, it's fine. So I have it where the beads aren't moving, like everything is caught, but I really need to, the star up here is going to help anchor the rest of this. So that's just me, being ridiculous, but that's where I see me, like, it would help just because I'm enjoying the beading. I didn't think I was going to, but I realized, okay, this big, it's like a size 6 glass bead, I don't enjoy them. Unfortunately, over here, I really was only doing that, and there was very little color. I love this Magnifica? I think that's how you say it. Anyway, the green bead here is just, I love it. It is beautiful. I love touching it. It's easy to see. It stands out against the fabric because these little rose gold, I guess it's like there's rose gold beads that are doing the swirl. They don't really stick, even in person, you can see them, but they're much more like you observe them as you move yourself in relation to the picture, as opposed to these just straight up, they're popping. I love it. But yeah, oh, and I pulled out the beads and finished here. So this one was a new one. I'm used to these beads being very like uniform in color. There is definitely a lot of color variation going on. It's clear from the packaging it was meant to do that, but I had wondered, so that's the same beads that are in all the dark sections here. They're gonna be really pretty. Like, I'm really pleasantly surprised. Now if only I can find where the rest of them are, because there's supposed to be 3 packages of it and I can only find 1. And I know I ordered 3, so I have them. I just don't know where. And as a note, just because I have been tracking this, so I want to make sure that I'm remembering to share it with the video, the Stargazer is at 37% complete. It feels like she's got more on her than that, but there are so many beads. So many beads. Fortunately, they do seem to go fast, so that's good. For my next whip, Mirabilia Designs, Winter Queen. Here's where she's last time. And this is my current progress. You will see her crown is complete all the way. And I also did the rings. She has this beaded strap of some kind. Even started doing, this is some of the beading that's along this trim that's at the top of her sleeve. Haven't gotten very far with it, but I love how she looks with all these beads. And the other part, I can be really bad about, oh, I have the DMC. I've done the cross stitches. Oh, must be done. And ignore the fact that there's back stitching missing over here. I did all of this, so from her hands up is truly complete. All the back stitching, all the beads, all the crosses, everything from here up is done. But when I was looking and going, oh, I stopped the back stitching over here, like way up here. It's the color I was already working in. It's just DMC 4815. So it's like, oh, I should probably bring that down and around. So I can be bad about that. Like over here, there's a bunch of back stitching that needs to be done over here. Haven't done it yet. I forget. Mirabilia's come in paper charts. I make a working copy, just go to Office Max and get, like, so in this case, it's one giant chart because this is one of the like original like big fold out styles. Most of the Mirabilias where they have the front and the back, I end up fitting onto 8 pages. This one actually fit on 6. It was kind of exciting, but I use a highlighter. So as I'm highlighting symbols, that's my sense of completion. And the problem is that only works for the actual full crosses. It does not work for back stitching. I don't highlight the back stitch. It's just oh, I need to make sure I do it. And then it's easy for me to forget, I should be worrying about it. Not really like something that's horrible, like this doesn't have extensive back stitching. But in some of my other projects, for example, Teresa Winsler's Fall Carousel Horse, back stitching for days. I am convinced there's as much back stitching in that project as there are actual like cross stitches, which is fine. It's part of the appeal of that particular project, but I definitely do that as I go along because otherwise I will not remember and I will miss things and I just don't want to do that. Anyway, that's for another day, but this is, like I said, she's progressing really nicely. This cloak, okay, I saw this criticism somewhere and it's not the world's worst, but talking about how they don't like the Mirabilias because the actual dresses don't always make sense, and this is in fact true because some of them really don't make sense. I'm like, there's miles of fabric, but I don't know where the fabric is going. Like for here, there's going to be a piece down at the bottom that just kind of sweeps off to the edge of the picture. I'm like, what is that? I don't know. When I start trying to trace what these pieces, I can't actually tell. I mean, she's obviously holding what looks like the edge of like a fur-lined cloak? I don't even know. It's clearly in the same color as her actual dress, is evidenced here. This is her dress, but is she sitting on yet more dress? I don't know. And so if I think about it too much, it might annoy me. Whereas if I just look at it and say, I see, and if I just enjoy it for what it is, I love it. So, not like, it's just one of those. I'm like, that's, I don't necessarily, like, so when I'm like, it's the edge of this, like, fur-lined section is right here, because then it switches back to what looks like dress color. I don't know. This is me guessing. That, again, part of it just, you kind of accept some of this is going to be like, I don't have to, does it even make sense? And then at least it comes together in a coherent picture that mostly matches the model stitch, so I'm happy. I will say, so my copy I bought in 2002, and that means like the photo on it is like the glossy, like someone got like a 3x5 or 4x, whatever. They got a photo like developed and put in there. It's, the photography comes as the colors read as a little more gray. A grayer blue than they are in real life. I don't know, but I also noticed, and the reason I say this, because I also noticed that about Stargazer, but the Stargazer is a much newer project. Its release is sometime in the mid-2010s. It's not on the gloss. It's, like I said, definitely more modern photography. But its color resolution is also only, I'm like, did someone tweak this in post? It reads just a little more gray. Everything I have reads a little more green. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not saying that it bothers me. Generally, this is marching along with what I'm expecting to see. But it is one of those, like, sometimes those cover photos are generally like, you see them, and it's like you know how you get from that to your actual project, but like it's not 100% a match. Like when you get along, you go like, oh, I mean it's close, but not quite. Also, because again, before I forget, 67% on this. Like really, once I get these beads done, because that'll make the everything. Part I forgot though. There's a lot of stitching still to go down here. I know I said, I'm getting close to the bottom. But there's still a lot of DMC to be put on this. And she is my focus piece, so we're going to be seeing a lot of her until she's done. With focus pieces, the next one is one that I have treated as a focus in the past and then dropped it. This is Modern Folk Embroidery's 2021 Stitch Along, The Fruit of Plenty. Also, as a side note, I've been watching people's whips, and everybody's like, the Fruits of Plenty, and I'm like, what are they talking about? So told you I was on Modern Folk Embroidery's website and it said the Fruits of Plenty, and I'm like, have I been saying it wrong the entire time? Mine clearly says the Fruit of Plenty, and I love it much more as the Fruit of Plenty vice the Fruits of Plenty. I don't know if it's just because I've been thinking of this as a singular, the Fruit of Plenty, for 3 years now. I don't know, but here's where it was last time. I've been busy. I said sometime back, I think November, that sounds about right, so just kind of go with me on this, that I was going to put this down, wait until the new year, and let it be kind of a fresh start, when I realized that I wasn't going to get this done last year. And I've been honestly hoping to get it done. I wanted to get it done in 2023, wanted to get it done in 2024. Here we are in January 2025, and this is the halfway point. And so obviously this is like, and that's a big chart. So obviously I was kind of like, I had to give it that fresh start. And then when I picked it up, I went crazy. The border here is all the way to, this is the bottom of this particular page. This is the edge of the page. There's some stuff in here, but like, I really started, like, I got a lot done on this. I did this last weekend, just Saturday, it was Saturday. I picked it up and then I, like 4 hours later, like, oh, I guess I probably should put this down and make dinner. Like, that is how into it I was. I love this project. This is a 40 count, and so this is the 1/2. I really do think that the coverage is just at 40 count. The 1/2 looks fantastic. So just as like I thought I would say that as an aside, like obviously you wouldn't want to do like 2/2 here, but just going from the 36 to the 40 makes a difference. So this is, I guess, because the coverage to me on here looks really akin to what I get with 2/2 on 32 count. And again, I told you, 32 count, it's not just my sweet spot for stitching, it's my sweet spot for I really like the coverage and how the threads lie. So anyway, using just 2 DMC colors on here, 3808 and 3810. I think they look fantastic. I love this. It's beautiful. I want to get this done in 2025, but if I don't, I won't get upset with myself. Giving myself that, like, right now in January, that it's okay if I don't get there, just because I do have a lot of, honestly, my projects tend to be on the big side. So if I don't get this done, it's okay, but I love it. It's so much fun. It's beautiful. I don't know. One day this will be on my wall. I'm a sucker for modern folk embroideries. Apparently they're stitch-alongs because I bought this back in 2020. It was, I think, the very first modern folk embroidery piece I ever bought. And unfortunately, so I have 4 modern folk embroidery projects, 3 of which are the annual stitch-alongs. This one, the 2020 Family Patchwork Sampler, is the one with the least amount of progress on it. So here's where it was last time. This is where I am, and I am not sure I picked this up once in 2024. I know that I had obviously worked on it this last week, and it hasn't been quite a year since I filmed my whip parades at the beginning of the year, so my 2024 whip parade was done, I believe, in the 3rd week of January last year. So I guess this means that I have worked on it since that last point, but I don't know that I worked on it at all in the calendar year 2024. That's okay. I have pretty much finally finished this very first piece, which is the January card. I bought these as the individual cards for my LNS. I believe I've mentioned that in the past, but I definitely prefer that he now does them as complete books because it's much easier to work with. And the halfway point for the top is like somewhere over here, but I did at least finish all the alphabet chunks that are here. I pulled this out. Basically, what happened is I really wanted to just get this part done. And I was like, okay, and then I'm gonna put it down. I don't want to UFO this project, but for some reason, it just never quite is the one calling to me, which is funny because this is on the exact same fabric as the Fruit of Plenty. It's a 40 count Verle even weave in white. I am using DMC 924, and I love that color. It is a beautiful color. Every time I pick it up, I'm like, oh, I love how this looks. Like, what I'm stitching is great. I don't know why it doesn't call to me that often. I don't know. So this one is probably gonna will probably be the only work that I get done on it in 2025, and that's okay. Maybe I'll come back to it, maybe I won't. I have other things I want to focus on. This is probably like my lowest priority piece, but at least for a low priority piece, when I pulled it out, I really did enjoy it. So one day in the distant future, when it gets done, I'll be happy. But I'm not going to be doing anything to make that come on any faster than I absolutely have to. It's interesting that I mentioned that Family Patchwork Sampler doesn't call to me very much because my next piece is also one that doesn't call to me very much. This is Heartstring Samplery, Summertime Coverlet. Here's where I was last time. And I've made some progress. I'm not going to tell you I made a ton of progress, but all the leaves are now done on this one, and I'm just working on the flower. So, this is one of my oldest whips. This I started sometime summer 2018. This was one I did not write down when I started things. I don't know why I didn't. It's fine. Okay, problem. There's nothing wrong with this project. It has been 7 years and I am not done. For no good reason at all. I love the fabric. I love the floss. I'm kind of over stitching these flowers. But I love the effect. Like, that's the other part. It's one of those, this is very much the, I should enjoy the process. I don't love the process, but I do like the product. But I'm struggling to force myself to do the process in order to get to the product. This all made sense, I'm pretty sure. But I finally had, this is my 2025 resolution, and this one gets to be a resolution regarding this project. I either finish it this year or I UFO it, but I am not taking it forward into 2026. Yep. Like, I had to make a call on it because this one, because I have struggled with it mentally long enough, I need to have an end game. And that end game needs to be sometime this year. I enjoyed working on it. I mean, I really did. So this wasn't done. This didn't even exist. This didn't exist. Like, I actually got a decent amount done. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. It's just that it's never my favorite one to pull out. Again, I don't know why. This is my very first monochromatic piece that I ever picked out. And at the time, I probably should have picked out, I think I was really more interested in some of the Quakers that were on the wall, but they looked too big and intimidating. And this one just had a really pretty cover photo. So I kind of got suckered in by it, and it's great. And it's a 1/2. This was the very first project I ever did a 1/2 on, and this is a 36 count Weeks Dye Works linen in the colorway linen. I love it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a great neutral. It works fantastic for the floss. And okay, and that's the other part. So this star right here is the halfway point. So really, if we assume that these belong up here, I am over halfway, like I'm halfway down. The bottom of it is less full from stitching point than the top. And the stuff at the bottom is more interesting. It has like a dog, some flowers, some words, like it's cute. And I just, again, I think I got so bogged down on I need to do the boring stuff first that I'm like, oh, well, and that was, I think I said, sometimes it is nice to stitch the boring stuff, but I didn't buy enough floss in the first place, and so the problem is to make all of it match, I really do need to make at least the top, it's all roughly the same, like, I know it's Gentle Arts, it's not really a dye lot, but they match color-wise better than when I have found it in future times when I've looked for uniform blue, where it's much darker and much more blue compared to this, which kind of comes across as like a mid-tone gray. So I really do need to do all of the flowers, because trust me, if I could go down and work on the bottom, I already would. Like, I probably should just pull out some of the other floss and like start messing with it, and out, like I'm now thinking out loud, and I'm like, oh, that would probably help. But again, this is one that just, it's not the biggest. This is a fat quarter. You see how big this margin is? Like, this is not a huge project. It's just that I need to be done with it. But on the plus side, I really did have fun with it this time. So I'm actually going to touch it sooner than like 4 months from now. So, I mean, that's a positive, right? And honestly, this is like project number 7 of the week, and I'm still not done. I have gotten so much stitching in, like, that I can actually waste a couple hours on doing stuff like this and be like, oh, okay, that feels good. So there's that. That's positive, right? Speaking of old projects, I was looking at my old thumbnails, my old, very, very terrible thumbnails. You guys are welcome to go back and look at all of my old videos. They're very not good. But for January 2019, so 6 years ago, sitting in front of a different house actually, I had as my New Year, New Start was Ink Circles Tapestry. So it's been hanging around now for 6 years. Anyway, here's what it was last time. And I've made some progress. Okay, first off, this entire motif I put in. That's like the big piece I did. I did some little filling in over here, and I'm at 32% done. So that's really exciting. So this is my other piece on 30 count. It's a Weeks Dye Works light khaki 2/2 using, it's all Gentle Arts, called for fancy flosses. And it's funny, again, going back to like 6 years ago, me complaining how expensive fancy floss were when kitting them up. It's because I buy it en masse for a single project that I wasn't, like, I was excited about, but I don't know that I was excited about as much as I was spending money on that floss at that moment in time, at the same time that I bought the fat quarter that this, it's just funny, like, now I'm like, why was I worried about the fancy floss? Like, the price of the fancy floss, that's not a problem. Do you know what I don't always like about fancy floss? It tangles. Some of them are worse than others. Gentle Arts is my preferred. I do not particularly like Classic Colorworks. I'm ambivalent about Weeks. I don't like the little cards they come on. Both Classic Colorworks and Gentle Arts, they come on slightly bigger ones that have the big hole that the floss is attached to, and then there's one that's meant for like pegboard at the shop to hold it up, but it's also really great for me to put all my scraps on. Whereas the Weeks is, like I said, so small and only has the one hole. It's like, you're just less fun to use. That's a total side. Sorry. Anyway, I had mentioned, I actually followed up Summertime Coverlet with this one, specifically because this is one that at one point I really struggled with. Like, so obviously I started this back in 2019, very excited, was happy about it. And then I got a bee on my bonnet that I needed to treat this, since it's a mandala, I needed to start in the center and do all the sort, you know how people do shadow lanes. And by the way, just as a thing, shadow lanes are absolutely beautiful projects. And I keep looking at them saying, well, do I want to do one? I have one on the wish list, but it's a mandala, and that means stitching everything like 4 times. And I don't know if I want to do that, because discovering when I was trying to do that with this, I couldn't do it. It was driving me crazy. It sapped all the joy out of the project, which makes me sad because I had actually bought this one. The pattern must have been brand new. I bought it in 2016. And the fact that I know that, I don't know how I feel. But anyway, I bought it in 2016 at one LNS, didn't get it up for another 2 years at another LNS, was really excited about it, and then came to a stop. Like, it wasn't happening for me. And it was because I had created this idea that I had to do it very symmetrically. I'm sorry, see this? I know I've taught this bird motif 16 times, because when I started up here, okay, bird 1, bird 2, bird 3, bird 4, and then 3 more around. That just absolutely, and in kind of boring colors, totally destroyed how I felt about this project. Now, you'll notice that I believe over the last year when I've pulled it out, I've been much happier about it, and that's because I've talked about, like, the colors are more cheerful. I was really happy to do more with this briar rose color, the red. Like, I really apparently, like, for this, the colors, I don't really care so much about the motifs, but, like, the colors really drive how I feel about it. And so part of it was me looking at it and saying, I'm stitching this wrong for me. Maybe there are people who want to make the big circle and spiral their way out and it'll be beautiful and wonderful, and I am not that person. Like, I can't do it. It doesn't go with how I apparently where I want to go in a project, what I want to look at, about being repetitive. Like, we'll say one of the bad things, I mean, I mentioned Summertime Coverlet, it's doing all those flowers over and over and over. They look great, but I don't know that I want to do it that way. Well, I was obviously had done the same thing with this, and then realizing I don't have to. I had created that prison, if you will. Yeah, I mean, I'm very over imagery here, but our mental fences that we create for ourselves are usually the biggest obstacle that you face in what you're trying to do in the world. Anything. I mean, it's a hobby, it's stitching, but really everything we do, most of it is self-imposed. And once I was able to say, hey, I don't have to do that, I'll stitch where I want. I want to do a little more of this. It's so much more fun. So now, and it also helped. Okay, Laura, this one's for you. My sister loves this project. I don't know if she just likes the colors or if it's not something she would do, but every time I pick it up now, I smile because she had specifically asked, hey, can I see you work on it? So she didn't ask this time, but every time I pull it out, I now have a positive association with it. That's the other thing. I had at one point had negative associations, and now I have that positive association, and it is so, honestly, I mean, it's lightning. Like, it makes me, sit up. Okay, but I find joy in it. So, like, when I picked it up, I was like, I don't need to do anything big. It's coming along nicely. I mean, I'm 32% along. I do want to get it done this year, but it's like in my middle. I ranked out all of my things I want to finish. It's in the middle. Like, I have 12 that I picked my top 12. This is like number 8. It's not high priority, but it's not like no priority. And I'm like, okay, and so I told myself, I really had fun with this and I needed to finish these little right here. So I'm like, okay, once I do that, I'm just going to mirror it over here and that's it. And I called it good. And I love that. So actually I just stopped myself because I was like, ooh, I think I want to start there. I'm like, I think I might. I'll do that next time. But like, I'm really excited to come over and get to this corner because again, once I let go of what I had imposed on myself, then I was like, it's great. And then it's fun. And then I was starting to think like, do I want to come over here next or do I actually want to go down to the bottom? Maybe I don't know, but I'm allowing myself to go where I want with this. And I don't know, it's great. I so much more enjoy this project than I did before. And that's why I'm actually using this as follow-up. I'm kind of hoping that with the ones where I'm sometimes struggling, that if I can remember that I can change how I feel about it. And once I find that, because again, every single one of my projects I pick, and I assume this is true for everybody, you're picking something because at some point in time, there is something about it you love. And if you're no longer feeling it, maybe it's because it is a bad project. Maybe it is a bad combination of floss. Maybe it's the wrong thread, or it's the wrong fabric. Maybe it's the wrong thread count. Maybe you just discover you picked out a really big sampler and you're not a sampler stitcher. I mean, that's okay too. Every project has something to teach us, even if we don't complete it. And I've actually had to learn this. I'm sorry, I'm like rambling right now, but I had to learn. I used to be the person who could not finish a book. If I picked up a book and started it, I was going to slog my way through it no matter how much I hated it. And this started probably in like high school with all the terrible choices that I got stuck reading. And you have to read them because you have to read the whole thing because you need to for class, blah, 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 write papers, get the idea. But the point is, I had taken that attitude toward all my reading. Instead of sometimes saying, you know what, something isn't speaking to me, maybe it'll never speak to me again, maybe it will, but that it's okay to just not read something or not finish it, that what you were supposed to get out of it, maybe you found it on page 24 out of 300 and the rest of it doesn't matter. I don't know. I mean, again, it sounds like vaguely more like profound than it ought to, because again, it's just cross stitch. But I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and one of the things that I heard yesterday, and I'm like listening to like super old ones. I love going and doing a deep dive in people's old stuff because it's kind of cool when you can see how they progress. But mentioned that how you go about one thing will often reflect in many things. And I paused. Well, I wasn't pausing, I was driving 70 miles an hour, but you get the idea. I was allowing, there was no cars around and I was in my lane and I was fine, but I really thought about it and said, I take that attitude to how I read books, is how I approach my cross stitch, is how I approach my house projects, like everything. It is, I guess it's one of those that because we are like who we are, it's going to reflect in a lot of the things we do. So ironically, if you want to work on being your best self, and I think everybody really does want to be the best version of themselves, figure out how to be the best version of you and doing the things that you love, and then use that to translate to the rest of your life. Yep, that's my guru moment. Thanks for sitting around. I do at least have one more whip. But yeah, this one will be coming back out. Like I said, I do want to try to get it done this year because I got like starteritis isn't just like hitting hard. I have a big 123stitch.com order coming in next week. Can't wait. And my last whip to share with you is my needlepoint kit. It's from Bucilla. It's called Geraniums. The designer is Barbara Bratz. And here's what it was last time. This is today. I'm gonna now kind of hold it over here. This is very large. So, sorry about that. This is the finished piece is gonna be 14 by 14 inches and it is on a 14 count, I don't know what kind of canvas it is because I am not really a needle pointer. I enjoy needlepoint because it is similar but different. So I am doing this in a basic continental stitch. I had done some basket weave up here. I don't think I have enough yarn to do the basket weave in the yellow that I wanted to do all the way down and not run out. And given that I bought this kit in 2006 and Bucilla hasn't made needlepoint kits in God knows how long, I don't want to play the how am I going to find more if I need to. So we're not doing that. If you enjoy doing half stitch, and this is more me like talking to all the people out there who love doing 10 stitch, for their full coverage, well, first of all, I know the full coverages are so massive, you're not going to be able to get like a needlepoint canvas. Although actually, if you did the 24 count Converse cloth, you could really like properly do like it needlepoint style and I think get what you're looking for. Anyway, this is just kind of a nice change of pace because I really do feel like it translates. Like, I feel like at one point you could get something like this in, well, first of all, okay, Barbara Batts, this is a Cooler Design Studio. Should recognize, because also the lemons I was talking about, but I mean the aesthetic, it's very much, this is like definitely something. I mean, can you tell it's Cooler Design? Because I can. Anyway, and it is funny how much I find that I'm drawn to like the same artist and how they depict stuff like over and over. Some people don't like to duplicate up on like designers that they use. I love to. If I love one person, like one of their works, I generally like a lot of theirs. Just who I am. But anyway, it's obviously a bazillion years old. I want to get it done. I think I said last year I was going to try to get it done and I didn't prioritize it. This year I'm going to, just because, again, it's old. It needs to be made into a pillow. There's a Janlin kit that is also Barbara Batts in design. Can't remember what the flower is, but it pretty much matches. And I want to basically have a pair of pillows. Anyway, I don't know. This is fun. So it's all in continental stitch. I don't know. Needlepoint, I really think that needlepoint and cross stitch are like complementary. So give it a try. Thank you. This was 9 whips. It's been a week. It's not even this, it's 9 whips. I did 7 last week. These are not all the same whips. Like I'm sorry, I'm like sitting here rolling this up. So if you're wondering why I'm like gyrating, I have to say that one of the best things I have done for myself this year, and I said it last week, I'm going to repeat it because I could be an evangelist for this. Guys, if you are struggling with finding enough time in your day, please put down the online world. I say put down the online world. For me, my problem is my computer, like literally on a laptop. If you give me the phone, I'm convinced that the mobile internet is garbage and I refuse to use most apps, so I won't doom scroll on my phone. You guys get to hear a lot about my sister because she's my best friend. So she's the type who, her computer, she just does things that literally need doing. Her phone for her is the doom scrolling device. But if you realize how much time you are spending, and I say this, is it totally hypocritical? Because you're watching a YouTube video. Hopefully you're like the end of here is still with me. And I love YouTube as well. Like I stitch to other people's YouTube. I love, like everybody's whip parades right now. I am so much, like I love watching it. I love seeing projects that are new to me, designers I haven't heard of, and like going, ooh, I want to do that. Like I love that. But I definitely treat YouTube as if I'm putting on TV, like in the old school, whatever's on cable is what you got sort of thing. I don't want to say I don't go out of my way to try to search for things, but I try to be a little bit more like, discovery should have a certain level of serendipity to it. Like the right thing will fall in your lap at the time that it's supposed to. At least I think so. And I do like having something on in the background. So podcast or YouTube are what I do when I'm cleaning my house or doing like needlework. But I try to do it where I'm not actively like scrolling, because what I find is if I'm actively scrolling for things, time vanishes. By not doing that, I have found so much time. I am able to get things done around my house. I've been able to help my kids with all their homework. Like I'm still cooking 6 nights a week. My husband gets Sunday nights, but like everything is getting done, but I am finding that my life is better. And we all only have 168 hours in our week. For my own health, I sleep a decent amount. I'm not gonna in order to find more time, I'm not gonna do things like sacrifice the time I spend exercising, preparing healthy meals, all of that. But I can definitely find time to do the things I want to do and that I value by, like I said, the little tweaks. Less time, like I said, scrolling the online world. And again, 9 whips. I've been writing out a list of these are the ones I'm going to work on next week. And I have like another 9 And so I'm actually considering buying more project bags. Yeah, I'm burying this at the end. I'm considering buying more project bags because I really do want to start so many things that I'm like, and they're not like, a bunch of them are smaller projects, but I would like to have them going simultaneously. So that hence why I want more project bags. Haven't decided on that yet, but it's, like I said, finding the time. And I'm like, if I were less online, how much more would I have gotten done in my life? Now, my life isn't over. I'm only middle-aged, but it's where I can see that and go, wow, this is how people were able to get so much stuff done in the past. They were making the time. So I guess as we're just in the new year and people thinking about what kind of plans they want to do in anything, I mean, for me, it's right now kind of focusing on cross-stitching, but I'm also looking around going, oh, I have a sweater that needs to be finished. So I have stuff that I want to knit, and I haven't, but I also haven't been prioritizing that yet. But I'm just thinking like, oh, maybe I'll max out at like 7 cross-stitch whips in a week, and then some of that other time, crafting time, I can turn into knitting time. I'm really feeling motivated to get back into sewing. I moved around my craft room, and my craft room doubles as my guest room / the all, like, everything storage space. So just go with that. Like, craft room sounds really, really ritzy-ditzy. It's not. It's like the weirdest, smallest room in our house. And, but by something as simple as moving around where my sewing machine is, now I want to sew again. So, I don't know. I guess it's if you find yourself, I guess, stuck in things and you want to do more, consider what you can change. Like, the world doesn't have to change. You can change your world. God, I really do sound like the world's worst guru. Thank you for making it here to the end. I will be back. Actually, I'll be back before next week. There will be a whip parade. I can't promise that it won't drop on the weekend. And I know that is actually, it's terribly bad for discovery and the YouTube algorithm, but I'm going to drop it before my next whip update. But, in the meantime, I hope that you're enjoying everything that you're working on, and please come back and see what I get done by next time. Please like, comment, subscribe, all of the standard YouTube spiel. I do appreciate it. And I do want to say I have like some of those thoughtful comments that get dropped on my videos. For everybody who's ever said anything, thank you. You guys are amazing. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And I will see you next time. Bye.